Well, hello everybody. I've been a little while since we made a video, and I wanted to put one together here, or at least a lecture of sorts, to get into this chapter 11 on group influence. Very important chapter. Says a lot about how we purchase things, is the influence of the people around us. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. One of the things I used to ask people in class when we had this as a seated lecture is, how many people turned around and were part of a particular group. I'd ask them when I taught at Missouri State, I'd say, who's part of a fraternity? You'd get hands going up. Who's part of a sorority? You'd get hands going up. Um, Lots of people would be part of certain careers. They're working towards being an accountant or going into the allied health or medical field. All of these are sort of membership groups, okay? Membership groups are groups that we're basically part of now. And I guess I should say a sorority and a fraternity is something that you're part of now. So, and they mean something to us. But there's also what are called aspirational groups. And these are groups that we aspire to be a part of, okay? And companies pay attention to this. You need to know the difference between membership groups and aspirational groups. Membership groups is where we're at, and aspirational groups are where we want to be. Okay. And quite honestly, a lot of times companies will create ads that make us interested in an aspirational group, a group that we want to be a part of. I have a YouTube video. It's a commercial from Rolex. I'm going to post it on the site so you can turn around and watch it. I may even put up some more so you can see some different variations of how they turn around and try and do this. But they show basically people out, racing cars and professional athletes in different sports who back the Rolex company and the brand. And so, you want to be like them. No offense, most 20 somethings are not interested in a Rolex. Even 30 somethings are not. But once you get into your 40s and your 50s, you might, even 60s, you might have the money to be able to afford one. And so a lot of people want the prestige. Millennials are not necessarily the target market for Rolex, but the ads are designed for an older market, and they can be very influential. So keep that in mind, the difference between the two. Okay. So what factors influence a group like this? Okay. Uh, Basically, what are they going to try and do to get you to join a particular group? Well, it depends on a number of things. And the first term I want to throw at you is called propinquity. It's in your book, it's in the chapter. Propinquity is all about how physically close you are to a person, to a certain situation, and so on. All right. If you turn around and you live on the farm and you don't get into town, but when work requires it, and you want to turn around and be involved with the theater, okay, Springfield Little Theater or something. Well, you're not around those people a lot, and I'm not picking on farmers or anything like that, but there's not that physical proximity there. So basically, the opportunity to interact with others comes into play. Now, I will say this: by creating ads that make it appear that more interactions will occur if you use this product, propinquity is resolved. People like to be around other people. And companies will create ads that basically say, if you buy this product, if you use this service, you'll get to be around the people you want to be around. All right. If you basically, I'm trying to come up with an example. You like the people that like Jeeps, then if you get a Jeep, then you can be more like them. That would be an example, something along that line. Okay. So ads work to address this. They really, truly do. All right. Simple exposure. Studies have found that we just like things more if we see them more often. And for some companies, if you want to get something across, you may have to run a commercial, you may have to run an ad, and you may have to run it a lot. It's fascinating. We have these new blip, what do you want to call them? Billboards, at least around Springfield and a lot of major cities, where you can pay to increase the frequency of a given ad that shows up on that big television screen at different intersections for about 9 seconds at a time. But you can influence exposure in that regard, and it works. Group cohesiveness. Group cohesiveness basically says to what degree are group members attracted to one another. Okay, the stronger the attraction, the more apt group members will purchase things that other members purchase. Okay, so if you want to be like those people that ride a Harley Davidson, you go get a Harley Davidson. And it's not only that. You start to buy the clothes, you start to buy the attire, you start to buy the accessories for your bike, and that. And then basically it creates more cohesiveness in this regard. So companies will turn around and create that mentality in their advertising. If you use this product, it makes you more like the group. The group will take you in, and you'll be part of the group, and so on. It happens an awful lot. It really, truly does in that regard. Okay. We speak of what are called reference groups. All right, reference groups. Reference groups are very influential. A group that you refer to, a group that matters a lot to you. But you know what? There are times that reference groups are not as influential as you might think. There really are times where they don't seem to have the impact that you might expect. What are these times? We don't rely a lot on reference groups and other people to help us make decisions when products are simple. Okay? If you're going out there to purchase some toiletries, toothpaste, you don't worry about finding out what your friends are using as far as that kind of stuff goes. Kleenex or facial tissue, you don't worry about that. You just go in and get something. All right, detergent to clean your dishes or use in your laundry. The product is very simple. You just go ahead and purchase it. You don't seek out others. Additionally, reference groups are not influential if really whatever purchase you're making is very low risk. Okay? If you go to Come and Go and you see a new flavor of a soda, it's not costing you a lot of money. You're getting a small glass. You're standing right there. You just go ahead and get it. You don't turn around and ask people, what do you think? All right? You're out 79 cents. If soda's on sale, it's no big deal. So the risk is very, very low. A lot of times reference groups aren't influential if we can actually try a product before using. Okay, so if you don't want to go down the path of creating a lot of ads, anytime you can create an opportunity to try something out, you don't need the reference group to tell you what they think or what they like or what they don't like. So, in that regard, for anything from sampling a particular food at the supermarket on a Saturday morning to trying out a car, they may not necessarily be as influential. So there are times that if you don't want to go through all the advertising and your company can't afford it, these are approaches to keep in mind. If you can address these things, you can do all right. So what factors affect when the group is influential? Okay, all right. Basically, and I sort of said some of this. You got to ask yourself, is the product going to be for private use, or is the product going to be for public use? If the product's going to be for private use and no one's ever really going to see you using it, that's going to have an influence. If people are going to see it, then the reference group is going to matter to you. Okay? Is the product a necessity, or is the product a luxury? If it's a luxury, a lot of times then you might rely on the group to get their input and see what they say and take that into consideration. Okay? All right, so times when reference groups are not influential, all right, and aspirational groups, and times when they are. So what kind of power do they have over us? All right, what kind of power do they have over us? The power of reference groups and how they influence us. Well, there's different types. Some people seem to know a lot of stuff about a given topic, okay? I'm a little bit older than most of you. You may not know these two individuals here, but they were movie critics from times gone by, and Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. and you could actually watch them on a Saturday to see what they thought of a given movie. I think even KY3 on Saturday does something like that now, where they do movie reviews. That's an example of what we call information power. Folks, we tend to trust a person or a group if they have knowledge, or if we perceive they have knowledge. Okay. Other examples may be fashion critics. Other examples may be, I don't know if you ever look at what's called Consumer Reports. That's a magazine that takes no advertising, so a lot of people trust the information that they put forth. So, we tend to trust people if we perceive them to be knowledgeable, or if we know them to be knowledgeable. All right. People can be very influential if we perceive them to be an expert. Okay. This is the late Stephen Hawking, all right, physicist, a brilliant man. We tend to trust people or groups because they're an expert in a particular area. And people like Stephen Hawking was considered an expert. And so when he talked about space and astronomy and things like that, uh, people paid attention. They really, truly did. We speak of what is called reward power. A lot of times we're influenced by people who can reward us. I don't know how else to put it. People who can reward us. If the boss can give us a bonus, or even the boss gives us a pat on the back, our friends can give us a pat on the back, um, that's reward power. And so a lot of times that can be very, very influential as well. And then there's what we refer to as referent power. People a lot of times will buy a product if they admire the people who are using it. Okay. I used this example of Jerry Lewis and the muscular dystrophy telethon. I believe Mr. Lewis passed away. He was quite the comedian, but every Labor Day for nearly 40 years, he ran pretty much a 36-hour marathon or telethon to raise money for muscular dystrophy. Um, Other people turn around and endorse products and stuff. I say again, people will buy into products if they admire who's using them. So if Jerry Lewis turns around and says, "Now I'm going to use this product," well, we tend to believe them. We tend to buy into that. All right, we see them as somebody in the know. And then finally, there's what we call legitimate power. Legitimate power, legitimate power basically means uh, somebody we trust because of the power that the organization has bestowed upon them. All right, doctors and hospitals, police officers in society. These people we trust. Okay, they have the power. They've been given the power. They're knowledgeable, and so on. What's interesting about, especially the doctors in uniform, they wear the lab coats and stuff like that. Um, these people frequently wear uniforms to identify us, to identify who they are, clarify their status. In terms of legitimate power, we trust doctors a lot. And I chuckle at the times where they create commercials where people turn around and play the part of a doctor. They wear the white lab coat, they put the stethoscope around their neck, and they turn around and talk about a given product, or something like that. Um, I remember there's one out there right now for a drug rehab place that turns around and has a gentleman in the blue scrubs with the uh, stethoscope around his neck. You might know which one I'm talking about. And, here we are to help, and so on and so forth. There's a very good likelihood this guy is just an actor, and I wouldn't trust him to take care of my dog. But basically, a lot of people will buy into the commercial because they see somebody in a uniform, and we perceive them as having legitimate power. All right, folks, that's enough for now. Hope that helps. Take care.